Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us on another edition of Program Through My Eyes Town Hall, where we converge to share thoughts and as on topical issues affecting us around the world. Today, we'll be picking up from last week's conversation about the security issues in Nigeria, a cry for a secure Nigeria. The discussion cuts across various issues ranging from how Nigerians in diaspora can help improve or salvage the security situation here in our country, their visualization on the security architecture of the country, to who is to be blamed, how the citizens play a role in information and intelligence gathering, or how the leaders are supposed to be responsible and fundamentally the security of the lives and properties of the citizens who elected them into power. Last week revealed a lot of truth, and we want to continue with that. And joining us today would have Dr. Dapo Thomas, a foreign policy expert. He is also a senior lecturer at the Department of History and International Studies here at Lagos State University in Nigeria. He was a special advisor to the governor of Lagos State between 1999 and 2007. And also we'll be having Dr. Pius Adejoh, a senior lecturer at the Department of Sociology at University of Lagos, Nigeria. He's worked in several local and international society bodies and diverse development issues. He has also consulted for several national and international bodies, including the Fourth Nation Nigeria, UNFPA Abuja, and UNDP Abuja. Okay, it's going to be a wonderful session again today. Now we'll be over to the studio where we have Mr. Akin Akinyemi helping us out in that segment.
Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us again this evening in this exciting topic as we deal with the cry for a secure Nigeria. Dr. Thomas, you were here with us last week to share some of your insight. And let's start with you on the program this evening. There was a point you raised, and that point was really about the root of some of the issues around security. You touched specifically on cultism and how cultism is a major challenge. Can you please throw a little bit more light on that question? And just before you do, we welcome our studio audience who will be asking their questions directly to you, gentlemen, today. But Doctor, if you want to answer that question, please, can you expand a little bit more that point on cultism, and then we'll come to some of the research that Dr. Adejoh has done in that area. Dr. Thomas, over to you.
Well, further on the cultism issue, I want to say is actually I don't know, or I cannot say specifically the genesis or how we found ourselves in this particular situation. But you cannot detach the evolution of cultism from politics, and the engagement and the kind of investment that has been massively done by politicians who will help in mobilizing the mobilization of instruments of thuggery. Those who help them in the mobilization of instruments of thuggery, and those who help them in different area zones Either you are talking of Lagos Island, Surulere, Oju, Epe, and also you will notice that there is no way one can say that these people have not been influenced by the politicians. And that is why it is always, always very difficult to be able to meet them, to meet their activities in the board. People who are encouraging them, who are mobilizing them, who are empowering them. So it is always very tough because when you see a governor, when you see a chairman of local government hailing a particular talk, a very well area, you know, and then finance is the same governor that is getting released. So that I believe is the major problem now. Who will bail the cat? What? How do we?
Dr. Adejoh, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm beginning to
Absolutely.
hear you, but at a point, I don't know whether it was from this end or from that end. Much of what my colleagues said earlier on were not audible. I don't know whether it was from
I,
this end.
I will get him to say that again. I think there was a bandwidth issue there. But let's
Okay.
move to you. If you can talk about the research that you have done in the area of security in Nigeria, and then we'll go back to Dr. Thomas on his point.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. The subject of security and insecurity in Nigeria is one that touches the very fiber of our existence as a nation. As a scholar, I have taken interest in security for a while, and I've done a couple of researches bordering on the challenges of security and then ways how we can deal with this very problem. Now, Dr. Dapo just spoke about cultism. Cultism has a history, dating back to the 60s or thereabouts, the days of a Wole Soyinka. Then that particular group had a very noble intention, but after their period, cultism degenerated to becoming a blood-sucking phenomenon no longer alone in the universities, but right now on the streets of major cities and even rural areas across Nigeria. In Lagos, cultism has become a huge menace on the streets. There's hardly any neighborhood in the whole of Lagos that we don't have the problem of cultism. In broad daylight, you see young men below 15, 16, wielding weapons of violence, menacingly killing people and causing chaos in society. One major one that has featured in Lagos or featured in Lagos at a point was the Badu cult gang, which reigned supreme in parts of Ikorodu. So I did a study on that particular group and how the activities interrupted social and economic lives in part of Ikorodu. So that was one area that I took interest in. And what I discovered was that yes, um, cultists, the Badu boys, wreaked havoc in those environments. I also discovered that at a period at that time in a point in time, many uh, residents had to flee for their lives. What do I call it? Nightlife died because you never could tell which household was going to be, involved. But particularly of interest is the fact that cultism, particularly the Badu cult group, thrived because one, the authorities that were supposed to nip the activities in the board were caught napping. The authorities that were supposed to deal with the menace um, were nonchalant. In that work, I tried to use the broken window theory to explain that in any environment where you see a small problem and you don't deal with it immediately, what happens is it will begin to escalate. And that was what happened in the case of the Badu boys. These people were attacking, residents were reporting to the police, but the police did practically nothing, resulting to getting to the point where these residents had to take laws into their hands. They had to form vigilantes. They had to engage in mob attacks, and things became messy until the Lagos government, I think under our body, had to rise to the occasion and brought that particular experience to a near close. I don't know if they have successfully, reading a Krodo of Badu Boy, but I know that at a point in time, the activities were scaled down. But the bottom line is that the menace grew because the authorities turned the deaf ear to the complaints of the average resident of Ikorodu at the point. Well, this was just one study. Maybe when we go specific, I can begin to talk about other studies. But this way, I want to draw the curtain here.
Dr. Thomas, can you hear us clearly now?
Yes.
Yes. We lost you a little bit earlier on while you were speaking in terms of this issue of cultism. Based on what Dr. Adejoh has said there, do you relate with his findings from his study?
Well, yes, definitely, because he did a specific research on Badu. So, but generally, I was talking generally. And then, he was able to explain historically, or he was able to allude to the Wolusoyinka pirate fraternity, as the beginning, or maybe as a source of the incursion of cultism in the Nigerian system, particularly in the university system. And then now it infiltrated or escalated into street zones, So I to that extent, I agree with him that historical position is valid. The only area is that maybe you did not hear me, or maybe you did not hear me at that particular time, saying that because he was saying that the authorities became nonchalant, and I said, well, there is nothing they could do, because these are the same people that empower them, that mobilize them, that invest in them. So it's going to be very difficult for them to do anything. So when police arrest them, the police station will be visited that same night or the following day by the godfathers, who will now plead, or in fact ask for their release, immediate release, because these are guys that the politicians find very useful, effective in terms of helping them to achieve their political desires or political goals. So the political enterprise of the godfathers is going to be the cultism is being nourished correlatively because it also has to do with the political enterprise of the four godfathers. So the two have a kind of symbiotic relationship that can nourish each other. And that is exactly what is happening. And that is why it's so complex, so complicated to say that you want to deal with cultism out of the university. The university system possesses the capacity, the disciplinary capacity, to be able to handle the students. Yes, there is maybe in one or two instances, you will still see some of these godfathers penetrating the VC, particularly at the state level, penetrating the VC, because some of them are visitors. If a governor is a visitor to a particular university, and then he has interest in some of the students that have been found guilty of activities, he would have to call the VC, and then. But this is not on a big scale. It's not as big as what you have in the streets. What you have in the streets is a loose system, a loose cultist system, where you can hardly do anything to the guys, because I see them very often. Every time you arrest them, they will be released. You arrest them, they will be released, because they work together. So that's the aspect. That's why it is very difficult. And you can even see that even in his own research, he said the authorities did nothing. And because it's not that it is not easy. I mean, it's not that it is difficult to provide solution, but the problem is, what solution do you want to provide where there is a kind of harmonious relationship, a kind of a kind of effective and functional relationship between the authorities and these cultists. So it's going to be very difficult to nip it in the bud, and there is nobody, the individuals, no matter the level, no matter the degree of vigilante system that you mount. It is because when you arrest them, even as vigilantes, when you arrest them, you take them to the police station. And then at the police station, you see the godfathers there, the politicians will be there. So what are you saying? So it's going to be very difficult. Everything we have to do, particularly within the civil space, within the political space, within any kind of space, we must have the support of the authorities. The support of the authorities in terms of enforcement, in terms of taking these people to police, to court, try them, and then you sentence them. But how often have you heard that this number of social and so cultists have been arrested and they have been jailed? It's very difficult. They don't really, their detention doesn't last more than 1 or 2 days. So that's the problem.
Doctor, just so that we're clear here. Now I need to be clear on who I'm calling doctor, because you are both doctors now. So, Dr. Thomas, just to be clear, when you talk about cultism, a lot of people like me may have this concept of groups that we have within universities, but then we wouldn't really refer to the groups known as area boys as cults in that sense. Now, they may be cults, and Dr. Adejoh, it might be interesting to hear your view, because they may be cults as well, and therefore we group them under that umbrella cultism. I think they are different. Dr. Adejoh, do you want to comment on that, please?
Yeah, thank you so much. Ideally, they should be different. Ideally. But increasingly over time, there seems to be a blurring of that thin line between these various groups. Now, who are cult members, or what is a cult group? A group of people with a definite identity, often negative and violent in nature, blood sucking and stuff, binded by a certain philosophy and ideology, oftentimes tending towards the negative. Now, if you take what happens what happened, or what happens in the university, and what happens on our streets, and what happens across the nation, you have these ingredients of violence. You have these ingredients of mayhem. So it becomes difficult to draw a line. Now, when you talk of the area boys, well, the area boys may just be these street urchins who do illegal and illegitimate business, and who are also available and amenable to violence. Today, it is going to be difficult to say that you will find area boys who don't belong, because if you come to the street of Lagos, even meat sellers are members of cult groups or street gangs. Even Okada riders are members of gangs. There is no professional category. Bus drivers, bus conductors, they belong to a particular gang. Yet these are the same people who double as area boys at certain point in time. So it becomes difficult to draw a clear line. There has been a merging of virtually all these categories into one group. Whether you call them cult, whether you call them gang, whether you call them area boys, they would always convey this identity of violence. And so for me, it will be very difficult to draw a clear line. Now, Dr. Dapo was saying something about, the role of the political class in arming and encouraging these categories of people. I agree absolutely. Most of the arguments he put forward are absolutely true and speak clearly to the problem of the Nigerian state or the Nigerian society. Just as the political class is implicated in the difficulty in fighting cultism and street gangsterism, so are they implicated in taming the insecurity across board that is trying to swallow Nigeria. Because clearly the political class is a class that believes that violence is the fastest and the easiest way of achieving their goals. And so, to the extent that they believe that violence is the easiest means to achieving their goals, to that extent, they have continued to nurture violence among themselves and even among their followers. So, it's fundamental if we are going to be able to deal with the problem of cultism, whether in schools, street gangsterism on the streets, insecurity in the nation, in the country, we must look beyond just those, foot soldiers, to begin to understand the interests of the political class in these groups of people. Until we understand the interests of the political class and then devise a way to deal with that interest in a manner that will reduce the challenges we are having with insecurity, for so long shall we continue to cry. He said something, you arrest them today, tomorrow they are released. This insecurity, even kidnapping, even banditry, if you look closely, you have the the fingers of the political class in those activities. And so, for us to address this problem, we need to go beyond the visible, obvious challenges we are having to begin to address the big masquerades behind them. The young people who are on the street, wielding arms and ammunitions and causing mayhem, have also come to learn from their principals. They see that their principals are succeeding and getting away with violence. And so they think that violence is also profitable. And there's a level they grow to, and they also become uncontrollable. That's what we are seeing today. Most of the people on the street killing and maiming were at one point or are still today, political talks to some high ranking politicians. And so they have learned the art of violence from that particular political class. And so if you are going to tame cultism and insecurity, you must understand the source, the origin, and how they are thriving and deal with it from the foundation. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor, for that analysis. We now want to bring in someone from the virtual studio to ask their question. I believe we have, please say your name as we bring you on very quickly so we know who you are. And please ask the question very brief in your question. Please go ahead. You are live now. Go ahead. You are live. Abiodun, can you hear us there? You are live now. Please go ahead. Okay, I'm not sure that Abiodun could hear us there. We'll come back to him again in a second. But we have a question here that I would want to put across to you, Dr. Adejoh, just in terms of what you said there, because you've said quite a lot. And when we look at the different strategies that local governments, state governments need to apply, it seems from what you have said there that while we may want to look at different strategies to apply, but it seems like those lines are being blurred. And there's a question someone has put across here that I'm going to put across to you. When we look at it says this. It says when we look at the situation in Nigeria in terms of insecurity, would you say that there is a difference between the North and the South, or different parts of the country when we talk about insecurity? Dr. Adejoh, if you pick that first, and then I'll come to you, Dr. Thomas, to get your view on that point as well.
Okay. Yes. Whether there's a difference between the North and the South in terms of insecurity. Well, in the past, it used to be so. But today we are seeing, what do I call it now? A globalization of the character of insecurity in Nigeria. In the past, Nigeria, we used and the South was afflicted by things like perhaps smuggling and stuff. In the North, maybe banditry, cattle rustling. But you see, all those things are beginning to creep down south. If banditry used to be an experience of the people in the north, if kidnapping used to be the experience of people in the south, today we are seeing kidnapping up north. Today we are seeing banditry down south. So again, there may be pockets of differences because of the different economic characters of these two segments of Nigeria. But you see, what is afflicting the north is gaining ground down south. And what used to be an exclusive preserve of the south are also beginning to penetrate the north. So I think that security challenge for me in Nigeria is a national challenge. It's not a southern challenge. It's not a middle beltern challenge. It's not a northern challenge. It's the challenge of Nigeria. Because militancy, look at the case of militancy in the Niger Delta. It was exclusively limited to that. Now, if you listen to the argument of people like Sheikh Gumi and other people in his, who think like him, they're also beginning to say, okay, banditry and whatever you're having in the north now is just like the militancy in the north, and so they need the amnesty, they need forgiveness, they need compensation. So for me, I don't want to begin to localize the issue of insecurity. Insecurity in the north is insecurity in the south, is insecurity everywhere in Nigeria. And we must look at it holistically from that point of view to be able to work out a meaningful response to the challenge. Yes, when we come down south, we can say level of poverty is not as high as it were in the north, but there is still poverty in the south. So if you are going to design a program to deal with poverty in the north, you may also need to design a program to deal with poverty in the south. Education, illiteracy is a challenge up north. So maybe in that area you might say that, but for me, insecurity is insecurity across board, and we must deal with it from that point of view.
Thank you for
I
that.
don't know.
Dr. Thomas, what's your view on that before we go to the virtual studio?
I just want to believe that, well, as much as one can say that banditry, kidnapping, drug are national issues, they are national problems. They have. I want to believe that we have some kind of peace. We have some kind of relative peace in the southwest, or maybe part of the south. And then even if you are going to look at the little challenges, security challenges that we have in southwest or in the southeast, you will still see that the escalation has is source from the Fulani emancipation of Fulani imperialism. However, in the south, the issue of banditry is a daily, I mean, northern part. We don't here is limited, but we have kidnapping. And even now, the North King over in terms of kidnapping. So the kidnapping in the southwest, and in most of the southwest, in most of the governors do not, yes, they encourage thuggery, they encourage hooliganism, but when being perpetrated by by armed robbers, kidnappers, and also, because those are not, they are not politically motivated. They are offspring of social menace. They are offspring of social menace. Actually, I'm not saying that they do not have political roots. I'm only saying that it's not as significant as the social problems. Those ones emanate from social issue. But the political thing is the cultism thing about. That one has its related to politics. So that helps to curb or to reduce the degree of incident of banditry and Boko Haram and kidnapping in the southwest or in the southern part. So yes, there are variations, but any security challenge is a national problem.
It's a national problem. Thank you very much for that, Doctor. Let me now go to the virtual studio audience. Adeoli, do you want to put yourself off mute now?
Yes, hello. Deolu is my name, and I'm joining you from Dallas, Texas. I'm a very good friend of Dr. Dapo Thomas. We were colleagues at A-Levels Comprehensive High School, Ayetoro. Hello, everybody. I'm so glad to join this, but I must admit that we have really lost. I missed a big portion of this discussion because the audio was off or connection was too bad. So maybe what I'm going to say might be something that I wouldn't be repeating what others have already said. So having said that, I heard the Dr. Adejoh talk about the banditry, the cultism starting from the university and being established, started by Wole Soyinka and his peers at the University College Ibadan. Yes, in those days there were fraternities and they were created just to serve some noble cause at that time. And fraternity as a whole actually is not a bad thing. I live in the US. I have 2 kids who have gone to university and graduated, and when they were in the university, they were members of fraternities. So there is nothing bad about that. But what had happened over the years was that those groups got proliferated and they started adding some bad things into the mix of what brought them together. And that was still contained. They were still, for a long time, contained within the university environment. Okay? Pirates, we got the Buccaneers, the Eyek fraternity, all of them were still within the university environment. Now, the problem now is we are talking of cultism in the country today. What was the genesis of cultism? Dr. Thomas was trying to address that, but I missed the whole portion of. For me, personally, I think that what has happened is our politicians, don't forget, our politicians, most of them that now got immersed into fraternities in the university in those days are now in their 60s, they are in their 50s, and they were members of those fraternities on campus. So when they now became politicians, they knew that on campus, those fraternities, they used it somehow to instill fear into the university community, and they got their way and people feared them. So when they now became politicians, what they did was to import all the modus operandi of their fraternities to sustain themselves in politics. So in doing that, they couldn't use university students to do that. So they had to locally organize all these traders, barbers, taxi drivers, bricklayers, and stuff like that. So, and those were how this cultism started in the way they are right now. It is not to say that our own fathers in those days, in the traditional way, they had their cult, like all these Ogonis and stuff like that performed traditional roles to help these traditional institutions. But apart from that, the proliferation of this thing and the dastardly act that is happening in Nigeria today, in my opinion, started from when politicians who were members of fraternities in the university now exported that into the political system in order to sustain and maintain their hegemony within the system. Okay, so to me, that's how it started. Now, they also touched on why the security people have not been able to, maybe when they arrest them, they release them. I want to suggest to us, and that's where my question is going now, is it possible that some of the people who are leaders in this security system, they themselves were members of fraternities when they were in the universities, and then they were enablers of these cultists because these cultists were actually performing some roles for them. So they are benefiting. Don't forget, in Nigeria, anything that brings people money, whether legally or illegally, people tend to want to protect it and don't want to disturb the status quo. Is it possible that because there are enough of these people who belong to the secret societies in the university, now in the political system and the security system, is it possible that they are still using those kind of leverage that they had to sustain cultism in the society today? I stop so I can give a chance.
Thank you for that question. Let me pass it on to the panelists. Dr. Adejoh, you have done a lot of research here. Do you want to respond to that question first?
Yeah, I think I can give it a shot. Now, to answer the question of my brother, we also need to ask another question. Why do people join cults? They join cults because it gives them access to power. They join cults because it gives them access to privileges. They join cults because it gives them access to opportunities to advancement. And if we have people in the police who want to be powerful, who want to have privileges, who want to have opportunities, who want to advance, then it's also possible that we have cult members even in the police force. Not just the police force. I did, in the course of one of my studies, what I found out was that cult members or cult groups draw their members from far and wide, from professional bodies, from international bodies, from local bodies. So we cannot rule out the fact or the possibility that in the police force, you have people who are either cult members or who have soft spot for cult groups. In the military, you can still not rule it out. In the administration, whether in the legislature, in the executive, every sector of society, to the extent that people will always seek for power, for privileges, for opportunities, for advantages. To that extent, they will. And one way out is so it's possible but every security unit or sector. That's my opinion.
Dr. Thomas, how would you respond to that point? If we still have you there. Looks like we may have lost Dr. Thomas there. But while we wait for him to come back, there's another question from the virtual studio audience that I'm going to put out to us here. Tufile, please unmute yourself. Are you ready?
Yes, I am. Good evening. Good evening, sir. I'm Tufile Binding, and my question is going to be directed to no one in particular. The recent appointment of the service chiefs by the president has received quite a number of commendations from some angle, and you see that it received quite a number of criticisms from some angle. My question is that how would the two panelists, how would they advise these officers who have been appointed to tackle the insecurity issues in the country? How would they advise them to tackle these issues?
Thank you for that. Dr. Adejoh, I'm not sure if you had that clearly, but the question was this.
Yes.
Did you hear that?
It wasn't very clear. I'll be happy if you can amplify.
All right. So the question is this, that specifically in Nigeria, there has been the appointment of new service chiefs. What would you advise those service chiefs to do in terms of how they tackle the problem?
Okay, thank you so much. The first thing I would want the service chiefs to do is to sit back and understand, do an assessment of the battle thus far. Are we where we are supposed to be in terms of this fight? If we are not where we are supposed to be, what are the challenges? What held us back? I know that at a point it was the issue of inadequacy of fighting tools. So the service chiefs have to address this. A situation where you are sending soldiers to the war front and you are not arming them sufficiently will not help the war. So that's the first thing to do. The second thing to do is gauge the morale of the fighting officer. What is the morale like? Is the morale waning? Is the morale high? You need to deal with the issue of morale. You need to deal with the issue of welfare. But above all, well, I'm not sure that the only way to win war is by bombing and killing and stuff. Are there other possible ways? If you look at the Nigerian situation, you see that almost the entire country has become theaters of war. In the northeast, war is raging on. In the southeast, one is brewing. In the southwest, another one is brewing. So, what could be done to minimize the number of the wars the military is embarking on? Because what is the size of the Nigerian military? I want to spread them this thing across the length and breadth of Nigeria. If you check your records, there is hardly every sector or every part of this country that the military is not engaged in one form of warfare or another. So they can combine the military, response, but they can also begin to look at other possible ways of, solving certain problems without allowing them escalate to war. So this would be my advice. I know that the service chiefs are hungry for glory. I know that they would want to make a difference, but to be able to make that difference, they need to understand the war itself and look at the areas they are not doing well and then respond professionally. I don't know the issue about, if you listen to the charge given to them by the president, he told them, identify the best heads, identify the best hands. Don't, count on seniority. Don't count on ethnicity. Don't count on religion. Look for the best, the professionals, the best of the Lord, and use them to achieve results. Then you are also listening to the counsel by Governor Zulu of Borno State, who counseled that maybe this is a time to consider the engagement of mercenaries. Well, I've not weighed that very seriously, but I think that it's also an option that could be considered. And there are private.
Dr. Adejoh, let me ask you a question there. When you say the option of mercenaries, what do you mean?
Okay. Well, maybe that word may not be, but I know that there are private military organizations, whose call or whose brief is to assist nations wage or overcome certain wars.
Let me
I have
get
not explored that.
let me get Dr. Thomas's response to that. Dr. Thomas, how do you respond to this possible option of using private military organizations. Is that not what got us to where we are, where we're saying, well, the people who have come in are not Nigerians, and therefore we're getting the situation with the Fulani headsmen? What are your thoughts on that, Dr. Thomas?
Well, I do not subscribe to the involvement or integrate the mercenaries within the Nigerian system, the Nigerian army formation. In the first instance, anyways, it's a suggestion, it's an idea that was mooted by a government. So he may not understand the professional impact, So he may just be talking politically. He's interested in getting some of the issues resolved or some of the challenges tackled as soon as possible. Unfortunately, in the Nigerian state, it is always very difficult because we are even still talking of those that belong to the Nigerian army with records, with everything. We still have problems with them. We're still talking about our own. We're still talking about how to identify perpetrators of evil. We still have situation where a military officer or an army, a Nigerian army officer and the girlfriend are supplying uniforms and arms to private security personnel that you call mercenary. How do we account for all the atrocities that they are going to perpetrate within the war front? And don't forget, most of these people you are talking about are not people you can trust with professionalism. They are not people you can trust with honesty. They are not people you can trust with integrity. Most of the people in these outfits found their way there because they are desperate for job. They are just looking for job. It's not that they are committed. So the level of commitment, where is it? Now we are still even arguing. We are still even discussing, questioning the level or the degree of commitment, of patriotism, of the organized, of the real Nigerian soldiers, the official Nigerian soldiers, those who take it as job, those who take it as their occupation. We are still questioning their commitment to their fatherland. We are still questioning the role they are playing in the war front. We are still questioning the kind of conspiracy that goes on between the bandits, between the kidnappers, between the Boko Harams, and then some of these elements in the Nigerian army. And then you now want to compound the problems by bringing in by bringing in mercenaries. That is going to cause a kind of a lot of disaffection. And then how do you also decide to give? When you give the same salary, when you give the same, and then what are you sure of their level of training? What training have they received? Did they even go through the rigors that the traditional Nigerian army went through? No. So there are so many things involved which will not allow me to say, which will not allow me to agree with that position that we should involve mercenaries. I believe that it was more of a political statement, more of a system, more of an idea that was generated by anxiety, and the need to nip everything in the bud. So it's not a professional advice that I will subscribe to.
All right. Thank you for that, Doctor. We'll go now to the virtual studio audience. Tayo, can you please unmute yourself?
Can the audio be better?
Yes, we can increase that. Tayo, can you please unmute yourself? Tayo, we cannot hear you.
Hear me now?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay. First of all, I would like to respectfully disagree with Dr. Thomas in the terms of the use of the mercenaries. I think the security situation in Nigeria has proliferated up to the point where it is now a merchandise issue. Just because some people are thinking that this matter is inside, an internal issue. And in such a way, we see schools being, kidnapped here and there. And we see state governments also paying these people just because of that. Now, it is infiltrating down south, and the whole country is becoming destabilized. I remember one time during Jonathan's era, the issue got to a point where they had to bring mercenaries in, and these people came in and cleaned out some of this. When people are being killed, hope is going every time. What do we want to do? We have to kind of be serious with this and get these people out of. They're coming to a particular community and clearing communities, burning up, but of course these people are within us. If we do not think about the issue of the mercenaries, I think we're not being sincere with ourselves, and trying to solve this matter will still be a long shot. Now, to my question, I think the issue of security in Nigeria is more than what the eyes can just see. And I think it's an international issue with Nigeria. I think it's an international trade issue. I think it is more to get the soul of Nigeria in terms of whether to continue to sell arms to some people to get some mineral resources. It's happening all over Africa. And
let me put that
will we
question.
say it is not? Will we say it is not what is happening in Nigeria?
Let me put that question to the panel, Tayo, and see what their view is in terms of the trade implication. Dr. Thomas, do you want to take this first in terms of this trade implication of using mercenaries?
No, on the issue of mercenaries, that's his own position. Like I've said, that those.
I am actually struggling to hear you guys. Hello?
One second, I'll get the technical team to have a look at that. What you could do as well is maybe you want to come out of the session and come back in.
Okay.
All right. Dr. Thomas, can you continue with that point?
Okay, like I said, that I do not believe that it happened under Jonathan that we used mercenaries. I've not seen a situation where the Nigerian government used mercenaries to achieve certain objective, or to conquer anybody, or to bring anything to an end. If at state level that is going on, it's a private arrangement between the states and the mercenaries. And I don't think the Nigerian government has ever taken part in that kind of thing. I have not come across a situation where that took place. And like I said, that if he's saying that it has become a kind of merchandise and everything, that people now want to take part because of the economic gains and everything. So what gives us the assurance that if these mercenaries infiltrate or come into the whole picture, we will not have an escalation of merchandising, and everything, and business and all sorts, and we will not be able to account for, like I said, the atrocities that will be perpetrated, and there may be kind of conflict between the official army and then the mercenaries. So, and this conflict may degenerate into some kind of this. It may create problem that will now make either our own soldiers, the official soldiers, to be very discouraged, or whatever. It depends on how it is handled, but I don't believe that this is the time for them to come in now. As for whether there are some states or there are some nations that are interested in using these security challenges as a bait, or maybe as an opportunity for them to recolonize Nigeria, or to maybe to do some kind of exploits in terms of imperialism, I want to disagree. The age where you use that, or any excuse like that, to penetrate or to infiltrate Nigeria and take our cattle, away our resources, do all sorts of things, take away our political structure, or dismantle the political structure, erect. You are now want to erect a new structure. No, it can't happen. It can't happen. Whatever, let us face it squarely. Whatever is happening now is a problem that we have created ourselves. And then we will not be doing justice to this topic if we do not link or connect this to the social problems. Unemployment, we have unemployment, we have decline, serious deterioration in our values, in our value system. The issue of cultism we are talking about is all about values. It's all about our value system. So we need to go back. We need to go back to the grassroots. We need to go back home. We need to reset. We need to go back to the traditional system where we have to promote the good values, particularly, let's say, okay, for instance, in the Southwest, you talk of Omoluabi. What is the concept of Omoluabi in terms of what we do? And then the kind of, I know very well that at a particular point in time in this country, you will find it very difficult to do anything because, number one, the way they will subject your family in the neighborhood, the way they will treat you, and then subject your family to this kind of scandal or disgrace, you will not even want to commit any crime. But these days, committing crime or anything is not anything. Even the parents don't have any. They don't have anything to say again about their children. They don't even care where their children are. Because are you telling me that most of these guys who engage in cultism, are you telling me that they don't have parents? They have. But the point is, where are the parents? What has happened over time that those parents now lost it completely in terms of managing their children, in terms of managing the affairs of their children, to the level that those children now are on the streets. And then the parents don't even know where they are. They don't even know anything about them. And these children are on the loose outside there. In thousands. I mean, you have seen them before. You have seen them when they mobilize. All these guys, they call themselves they call themselves and all sorts of things. So you'll be wondering, and then you know that there are some parents, you will not even see one of their children involved. But these particular children, where did they come from? Whether you are 30 years, whether you are 40 years, whether you are 50 years, don't you have a family root? So these are issues that we have to address. It's not about international. It's not about countries or international some other countries trying to come and recolonize us. It's not possible. It's not possible for anybody to say you want to recolonize Nigeria. If you have problems, solve your problems, and then whatever they are coming up with in terms of their own international is just they are going to do business with you. When they do business with you, if the bargaining, the negotiation, if the bargaining is not proper, then that's your own problem. If they have to give you 10 million and then they take 100 million, that's your own problem. So it's not about any nation interested in Nigeria trying to use these security challenges as a bait or as an opportunity to infiltrate and then repossess our resources or maybe our materials and raw materials and everything.
Thank you for that, Dr. Thomas. Dr. Adejoh, let me come to you. There's a question here. It says, over the last few weeks, we have seen different cases of kidnapping of school children, payment for the release of the students. What is your take on paying these criminals for the release of people who have been kidnapped?
Thank you so much. The kidnap of school children is a very unfortunate side to the problem of kidnapping generally. We are talking of vulnerable children, innocent children in search of education, but becoming the target of kidnappers. So sad. Now the question is payment of ransom to secure their release. Now you need to look at it very carefully. The moment they are seized, they are taken to the forest, to the bush, they are starved, they are malhandled, they are vulnerable. To say you want to mobilize an attack, you will be endangering the lives of those innocent children. Chances are that in the course of trying to use force to secure their release, you may waste them. That's why I think that, yes, bargaining and negotiating and paying ransom, as bad as it is, provides a way out of a very serious evil. Now, the moment government can do everything possible to forestall their kidnap, take every measure, security measure you can take to ensure that they don't fall victim of kidnap. But the moment they have been kidnapped, if paying a ransom becomes a way out, I do not see anything wrong, because the lives of those young people certainly outweigh whatever ransom we are going to pay. So the problem, if you want to solve the problem, you don't solve the problem at the level or after they have been kidnapped, that you want to show force or whatever. You solve the problem before they are kidnapped. But the moment they have become kidnapped, my view is, please negotiate, do everything possible to secure their release hale and hearty. Thereafter, do other things you think you can do to get at the kidnappers and deal with them. But
Thank
for
you.
as long as they are, okay, thank you.
Dr. Thomas, what's your view on that?
Well, I agree with him completely. Completely in the sense that, one, if you fail to provide security infrastructure that will prevent a situation or the scenario where children will be carted away like tomatoes, that you just go to market, you buy, and then you put inside your vehicle, and then you drive and you go. Nobody challenges you. Then you have become vulnerable to negotiations or bargaining with the with the bandits or with the kidnappers. That's number one. So the security provision must be made at the source where those children are schooling. Provision, we are not in a normal situation now. So to now ask the question that, where would the government find the personnel that will man the various schools and everything? Well, if you know you don't want to do that, then you increase the level of professionalism within your intelligence gathering agencies. You raise their morale. You increase the awareness among, you will increase the awareness of community, intelligence gathering in community. That is, the people of that community or those communities being rampaged are also going to build community intelligence gathering, because when these are the people that will provide you information. We just saw a movement now. We don't know where they are going, but we saw a movement of maybe about 30 vehicles or maybe about 30 Okadas moving towards this particular direction. So what are we doing? These people are moving. They will move for almost 50 kilometers, 100 kilometers from a particular point to another particular point. Were they not seen? Are they ghosts? Were they not seen? When they were going, did people not see them? So it also means that either the people have dissociated themselves as a result of the implications. They don't want to have anything to do with government, because once they supply the information that, we have seen movement of vehicles now, we don't know where they are going. The same people you have provided the information to are the people that will go and tell the Boko Haram people or the bandits themselves that, the information that you are moving towards a particular location was given by so and so person, and that person is going to be dealt with. So why are the communities, why are the people in the communities, why are they isolated completely? Why are they not happy? Why are they not willing? Why are they feeling so reluctant? Or why don't they even want to give information, useful information on the movements of these people? Why don't they want to give the information to the government? So once they move, they will move to that place. They will take 300 children. They will bring them back. I mean, the last operation, I understand it was Okada. How can you put 300 children on Okada and then they were moving as if they were in the convoy? Are you saying nobody saw them? Where were these security personnel? Where were they? What happened? And then when you hear that some people want to go and stay in a particular toll gate or in a particular place, you mobilize it massively. You mobilize soldiers, you mobilize everybody. So why didn't you mobilize when these people are going? I don't understand. So the problem now is that, like Dr. Adejoh said, once they are in that hideout, once they have taken them to their hideout, you are going to endanger these students. Where is the capability? Where is the capability to rescue these students without losing a life? Where is the capability? We do not have anything. So the moment they get them there, the government becomes so vulnerable to negotiation. You have to negotiate with them, because how do you get 300 children released without endangering their lives? So it's going to be very difficult. So to that extent, I support. To that extent, I see. I'm not saying that it is okay, but well, there is nothing we can do, because, and then don't forget, government is always under pressure when children are involved in this kind of situation, because these children are innocent. They are innocent. They did not commit anything. They did not do anything, and then they just become pigs. They just become some guinea pigs in conflict between these power people. So it's a very serious situation, and I think government needs to address this security issue seriously, particularly concerning children, because it's not good to involve children in whatever goes on in our society. We are the people responsible from 1914 to 1960, 1963, 19 so and so. These are the people that are involved. All these children, they are just innocent. Primary 3, primary 4, primary 5, primary 6. What do they know about all these things? And then the agony the parents go through. So it's unfortunate that we have a government that is not even sensitive, strategically sensitive to this, to the security of children. It's unfair. It's unfair.
Thank you for that, Dr. Thomas. Let me now go back to the virtual studio audience. Tufal, do you want to unmute yourself? Let's just make sure we've got him there before. Tufal, are you there?
Again, thank you for having me again. My question to anyone. I want any of the panelists to react to the recent shoot at sight order given by the president on any criminal found carrying AK-47. I want them to react to this order. Do they think it's in line with the security situation in the country, or do they think it's going to have no positive effect on the security situation going on in the country?
That's an interesting one to file. I'm not sure that there was an official shoot to kill order. Dr. Adejoh, Dr. Thomas, I don't know which one of you would want to take that first. Dr. Thomas, do you want to do that first?
Well, like you said, I don't like discussing issues that are not official, because it's like just engaging in pedestrian analysis. Sure, you understand? Because we are not sure if you have any official position, so we can take it and then put it in context. But now, in which context or perspective do I want to put this? However, if it was given, it's a very bad order. If it was given at all, it's a very bad order, because in any case, it's even going to be very difficult to enforce. Don't forget, most of the problems we have in this country is not about laws. It's not about anything. We have so many laws guiding all sorts of criminal activities, but enforcement is the problem. So how does he want to enforce that? So I don't really want to go on this kind of thing, because when you discuss now, government will now say it's not true. So I don't want to discuss much if it is not officially, if it is not an official pronouncement.
Absolutely. Now, there's another question here that says, there has been a lot of questions on the functionality of our security agencies or security apparatus in the country. In a country where we have different security agencies ranging from police, army, and so on, it is becoming worrisome that the level of insecurity is increasing by the day. And this brings us to the question, are our security agencies well equipped or educated to deal with this level of insecurity? If not, how do we address that? Dr. Adejoh, should I start with you first on that one?
All right. Thank you so much. Now, I want to start by saying that the greatest problem of the Nigerian state, the Nigerian nation, is corruption. Corruption afflicts every institution in Nigeria, be it the military, be it the police, be it immigration, corruption. And so corruption will rob the military or the security agencies of the needed fund for equipment. I'll tell you, they are ill-equipped. A student of mine came here, is with the police, and then he said to me that the kind of arms and ammunition they are giving, you could be going on, for an operation and you are giving 3-4 bullets, and you are going to meet armed robbers that will have hundreds of rounds. How do you engage? So the security sector is ill-equipped. That's number one. The security sector lacks the requisite professional training. The security sector, the morale is almost zero. The police, for instance, is poorly paid. And so if you ask me whether we have a security sector that can battle our growing insecurity, I'll say far from it. We have a lot of challenges facing the security sector. Personnel is also another issue. I'm not sure that we have adequate personnel in the police, in the military, wherever. Even if you don't have personnel, you could substitute for personnel with technology. Technology is lacking. So if you ask me, we have a very long way to go in addressing the security challenges we have, because the security institutions are ill catered for. They are ill equipped. They are ill prepared, particularly for the new forms of criminality that we're beginning to see. Many of them were trained in the traditional forms of crime, investigation and prosecution. Today, crime is metamorphosing into something scientific and technology driven. I'm not sure we are prepared for it.
For that.
That's my take. Yes.
Thank you. Dr. Thomas, do you want to respond to that question as well?
Well, in fact, he has mentioned all the problems. The only thing I would jump to, so that we don't waste time. He has talked about technology, training, morale, the arms, the equipment, the personnel, and everything. When you employ police, now you will see news reports. You will see the news report. Government approves the employment of 10,000 police, 20,000 soldiers, and so where do they end up? These people end up in the homes of politicians, private homes of politicians. In a particular place, in a particular home of a particular politician, you may see about 10 guards. These are police officers being paid for by the Nigerian government, by the Nigerian people. And then when they are being employed, they are not employed being guards, or they are going to be providing security for these rich men. But at the end of the day, 10,000 will be distributed among the rich people. And the reason What eventually, how many times have we had? We have had, I'm so tired, I'm tired of hearing it. Each time an IGP, a particular agency, all the police officers guiding private citizens. In 1 week, 2 weeks, you see them, they go back. They go back. So the 10,000 that the president has approved, 20,000 the president has approved, will end up with the private people. So at the end of the day, who provides security for ordinary citizens of the country? Then, what is the ratio? What is the ratio of maybe a soldier, a particular soldier to the citizens? We are talking of maybe 1 to 1,000 1,000 citizens, one soldier to particular, to 1,000 citizens, and that is very difficult. So the personnel is definitely inadequate, and where you think it is even adequate is being depleted as a result of the distribution of these people into private homes. When you talk of social welfare, apart from the fact that these people are suffering, they are suffering in the system. The fact is, when they lay their lives for the nation, what happens after they die? You see Nigerian government or whoever, maybe a governor or a president, giving 200,000 to a particular person who has about two wives and 10 children. 200,000. So all these soldiers, all these police, they will just be looking at it as, oh, is this how much I want to go and die for? Is this what I want to go and die for? So the kind of welfare package that we have is horrible, is despicable, is not something that anyone can be proud of. When you see some of the soldiers abroad, and you see the way they lay their lives for their citizens or for their countries, you will marvel. Why? Because they know that after death, the system will take care of their families. But we have here, you do not. In any case, even if they give 500,000 to the family, how are you so sure that the head of the family will not siphon the money, will not take the money, and then the children and the wives will be thrown away? They will not even be done anything. They will not even give anything. So he has even spoken about arms. I don't need to elaborate on that. The morale is very, very terrible. It's very, very terrible. Nobody,
Thank you for that.
See not the way these soldiers were working before, and then the training. Ask them, go to all these formations, security formations. When last did they send people abroad to go for training? When last? The money is embezzled. The money is embezzled. No training.
Doctor,
what is the quality? You need to integrate. You need to work within the system. You need to work with time. But now we are still very backward in terms of our professional training orientation.
Thank you for that analysis, Doc. There are two questions I want to take from the virtual studio audience. Deolu, I'll take your question first. Please unmute. And I can see Jide here. Please, you will need to have your camera on to ask your question. Adeolu, I'm coming to you now. Very brief, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. Now we have really spoken about the politicians being part of the problem, the police force being part of the problem, the military being part of the problem. I want to suggest to us that if we go around all the sectors of the economy, of the society, we are going to be indicting everybody in that sector. So my question now to us is it really a problem of us Nigerians because of our individual corrupt predisposition that we have this problem? Because after all, your members of the military, the members of the police force, the people in government are all people who are ordinary citizens before. And now when they get into power or in a little position where they can exercise authority, they change, they become so corrupt. Is it because we are naturally predisposed to not doing the right thing? Would that be the root cause of all of our problems? Thank you.
Dr. Adejoh, do you want to take that in 1 minute?
Yeah, I want to say that Nigerians are not different from any other national out there. If we are having this problem, our problem is foundational. You get it? If you ask me, to the average Nigerian, there is no Nigeria yet. There is no Nigeria. Anybody who comes to any position of influence or authority, you are thinking first of self. at the very best of your community, nobody thinks of Nigeria. So the problem is that I'm not sure we believe in Nigeria. Nobody is talking about Nigeria. There's no patriotism. There is no nationalism. The government is not pretending to be interested in galvanizing people to begin to love this nation. If you look left, look right, look forward, look backward, there is nothing that indicates to you that this country called Nigeria has come to stay. We are just thinking that one day this country will disintegrate. And so there is no nationalism. The policeman there does not think that he can die for the nation. The lecturer in the university, because of what he's seen, does not think that he can die for the nation. Who talk about anybody? So I think that it's not because we are peculiar people. It's not because we are unique people. It's just because the foundation of the Nigerian nation is
Wow.
faulty. And until we begin to correct that foundation, we may not get people to key into the vision. I'm not even sure that there's any vision, there's any national goal that I know of. Everybody is just behaving the way he thinks and doing whatever he likes, because whether Nigeria survives or not, it's not everybody's concern.
Wow. Thank
So
you for
I
that.
think that's where the problem lies. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Jide, are you ready? Can you unmute yourself, please?
Evening. Okay, so my question is, if we've seen that the security agencies in the country, they are not up to the task of providing that security, is there a place for international bodies to come in? International bodies like the EU and also developed countries, is there a place for them to come in? And if yes, at what point can they be allowed to come in?
Wow. What a question to ask just as we're about to close. Oh, wow. How do we address this? Oh, dear. Dr. Thomas. Let me come to you. I don't know how you can do justice to that in 1 minute.
We just asked somebody who was talking of foreign countries interested in capitalizing on these security issues, and then recolonize or maybe take away some of our things and everything. And then you now have a situation where somebody is asking EU to come in. These are the contradictions we have as a nation. Why do we want to continue to indulge in colonial nostalgia? Why? Why do we want to continue to encourage imperialism? Why must we always say or depend on outsiders to come and help us solve our problems? Why can't we evolve an ingenious system, whether it is a traditional system or anything, to handle our own situation ourselves? Why must we continue to happen the fact that also played up in the during June 12th, when everybody was expecting America to come and help Abiola to take over power? Why do we continue to indulge in this nonsense? I mean, I want to believe that whatever solution we are going to find, to far, must be within our own system, and the solutions are there. The problems are local based. The problems are here. They emanate from Nigeria, and then the solutions must come from within. So I do not subscribe to any kind of imperial remedy or imperial palliative. No, I want the system I want it to work out here. However, my issue is that for every politician or anybody aspiring to power, I share the same sentiment with the Oluwesho, but the fact is, every individual, every Nigerian must resolve the fact that, look, this is what I want to do for this country. I've found ourselves in a situation that every individual or every Nigerian citizen is interested in his own survival. And when you are pursuing your survival, your loyalty is to yourself. Your loyalty is to yourself because, number one, in terms of in terms of securing your life, in terms of ensuring that nothing evil or nothing bad happens to you, then that is your reality. You are being loyal to yourself. So that is the first thing. And then again, another problem is that because of the level of insecurity and the level of helplessness and hopelessness being witnessed or being witnessed by Nigerians, people have now decided to seek spiritual solution. And that is why you see people being patriotic, being more loyal, or being more interested in and being more committed to the church, or to the leadership of the church. The patriotic instinct, the patriotic zeal, the level of loyalty and everything, which should government has been appropriated by the church. And that is why it is not impossible for the church. If the Nigeria government, for instance, comes to the public arena to come and raise 10 billion, I'm telling you, it's difficult to find to what the ones that they have. What have they done with it? Who wants to give? But let a particular church come out to come and raise fund of 10 billion. You'll be shocked that in less than 3 hours or 4 hours, you will see 3 people, 10 people, 5 people contributing 1 billion or whatever. They are ready. Party have moved. Why? Because they believe that they have, which has abandoned them, has abdicated its own social responsibility to them. And as a result of that, they are disenchanted with the system. So they are ready to give their loyalty to anybody. So there is no level, no commitment. Just like that, I just said, no commitment to the national project. Nobody is interested in Nigeria. When you look at yourself, if you went to public school for almost 20 years, let's say primary school, secondary school, university and everything, you will discover that the state, you do not owe the state or the Nigerian nation anything. You are struggling on your own to raise your fund, to raise the fund. Some of us even left, we stopped school for 1 year or 2 years to go and work so that you can raise funds to go to school. So where is the loyalty coming from? Where will it come from? It will not come from there because the state you don't owe the state anything. I went to primary school, I went to the university. What did I benefit from the state? Nothing. So I paid my school fees, I did everything. So where is that? Where is the attachment? Where is the patriotism? Where is it going to come from? It's not going to come from the blue. So now I'm so selfish that everything I do now is about me. It's about my family. Why? Because I cannot endanger the life of my family, because I know that the government I have put or that is in place is not up to the task of even providing for me. So we make provision for ourselves. That is why you see people building high fences and call it security. Everybody now takes the initiative into his own hand. It's a very serious situation that we have found ourselves. It's a stalemate that we are in.
Wow. Thank you so much to you, our panelists, Dr. Pius Adejoh and Dr. Dapo Thomas. To all those in the virtual studio, thank you so much for being with us this evening. And just to help us out, I'll move over to Odunayo in Lagos to just talk us out on the program. Thank you very much, sirs, for your participation. And again, like I said, those on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, thank you for being there. Odunayo, over to you.
Thanks a million.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. It's been a very interactive session this evening. Insecurity in Nigeria, very, very disturbing. I'd like to say a big thank you to all our panelists. I'd like to say a big thank you to Dr. Adejoh Pius and Dr. Dapo Thomas. And also to all our guests in virtual studio and all our guests across all the platforms. I want to say a big thank you to you, especially to Mr. Diolu, Mr. Tufal, Mr. Tayo, and Mr. Jide for all their contributions. All right, conversation on the social and cultural issues continues every Saturday, 7 p.m. Nigerian time and 6 p.m. in UK. And okay, you also have to leave your comments, and you can also share and subscribe to all that has happened today in your various platforms. And for me, it's going to be a beautiful evening. See you again next week as we come up again on the program Through My Eyes.